Right. Thanks so much for staying there. The Daily Graphic has one of the biggest stories for today. We'll confront realities. President talking there as he receives the Short Commission's report, that document from Justice Short being given to the president. That's the big one on the Daily Graphic this morning. And also, Jumaku Winneba campuses of the University of Education closed down. Another big one, and NMC, that's the Media Commission, confirming receipt of government petition on the Castle Malaysia documentary. The Daily Graphic has those stories on the front page. The Finder stays with the Commission's report and says that the AG to draft law to ban vigilantism. President directs following NDC's mistrust concerns. Blackout to end within 5 days. That's the Energy Minister talking there. And Ghanaian Times journalist assaulted by the police is captured by the Finder. The Times has that story. Police brutalized 3 Ghanaian Times journalists. And then Winneba University closed down after students riot, and we're told what happened there. And then the story on drafting legislation to deal with vigilantism also gets attention on the Ghanaian Times. The Daily Guide has that same story. President orders AG as Short submits a report. The BNFT has the Winneba story. The university shut down, and then port charges down by 75%. Those are some of the newspapers I have this morning. My guest to do the talking, a member of the MPP's team, Eric Chum, is here with us. Good morning.
Good morning,
I
Brian.
hope you're good.
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I am good too. Thanks for joining us. And a member of the NDC's team, Abraham Amaliba, is also here. Good morning too.
Good morning, Brian.
I hope you're doing good.
Good.
Thanks for joining us. Let's start with this blackout, a quick one on that. If you take a look at page 25 of the Daily Graphic, cause of nationwide power outages resolved. Now, Minister of Energy, Mr. John Peter Mewu, says the technical challenges that led to power outages in many parts of the country last Tuesday and Wednesday have been resolved. He said the ministry and its agencies responsible for the production and distribution of power were working to prevent the occurrence of such extensive outages. He had taken a tour of some power plants at Sogli, Bong, and others across the country. That's what it says. But if you go to page 43 of the paper, the minority is blaming the power outages on financial problems. The minority in Parliament is contending that the recent power outages are occasioned by financial difficulties facing state-owned enterprises in the energy sector, rather than a technical challenge as stated by the government. Mr. Adam Mutawakilu, who is a spokesperson, said the Electricity Company of Ghana and the Ghana Grid Company had recorded losses in the last 2 years, which had denied them the needed funds to procure fuel to power plants and transmit same to consumers. It said the power outages, which started from November 2018, had exacerbated the last few days with their consequent disruption of operations in companies and destruction of electrical gadgets. So that's where we are. But the Energy Minister said that these are technical challenges and they have been resolved. Mr. Maliba, quickly, the outages were not announced, apart from the very first day that the PDS says some parts of the country was going to experience outages. They keep coming. We're told that there are technical challenges, they have been resolved. How well should we listen to the Energy Minister, based on what the minority is saying?
So let me start by saying good morning to your viewers. On your substantive question of how well we should listen to the minister, I think that what the minister is saying is a cock and bull story. Cock and bull because we were told that if PDS takes over ECG, there will be enhancement. There will be some enhancement in the services they provide.
Right.
So if this has happened and the minister now comes back to say the same things that ECG used to tell us is what has happened, I would say you take his side of the story as not the truth. The truth of the matter is the inability to pay for crude, the inability to pay the independent power producers to be able to produce the electricity. And so the minister's story, which I call a cock and bull story, is just to placate the people of this country and to let them think that probably some work is being done by the technicians and very soon the lights will be restored. As I speak to you, there are some people who don't still have lights in their communities. People send text messages. If you listen to them, this has been exacerbated by the fact that the independent power producers are unable to procure crude to fire their facilities. And so I do not think that after transferring ECG to PDS, we should be listening to a minister who told us that the reason for which the ECG has been given to PDS was to ensure that we have sustainable supply of electricity. That minister who told us that has now come back to tell us again that it is due to technical challenges, which technical challenges were also faced by ECG. So, Mr. Amewu, did we go or did we come?
He's showing us the story has pylons around Pokwase that are being constructed because of some road works there, suggesting that because of that, some power that had to be transmitted through these pylons could not be done.
There are two issues. There are two issues. This pylon issue, where they have to relocate them because of the expansion of the road, it's a different matter, and that would have affected some parts.
Right.
So this is a different matter.
But he says that it is one
Now,
of the reasons why
how
the
do you
outages
explain
are occurring.
how do you explain the outages that occurred in Bolga, for instance?
Okay.
How would you explain the outages that occurred in Cho, in Tamale? Clearly, I don't think that the connection of electricity from this one, which is a Pokwase, extends to Tamale. So this is not the problem that we are talking about. The problem that we are talking about is the massive blackout that this country witnessed 2 days ago into yesterday. I virtually had to sleep, and that means I'm even privileged. I had to carry my children into my car, and we slept in the car because I can't afford having mosquitoes biting them. When we come out, the situation was so unbearable. Up north now, the weather is so unbearable, and yet you have a minister who will come and be economical with the truth. This explanation, we heard them when ECG was there. Why are you continuing to hear them? So this cannot be true.
Eric, the key question is that the reconstruction of pylons, the technical challenges, and the minister said that because of these works, it is causing the outages. The key question is that could the public have been informed so that they knew that this is what is going to happen?
Thank you very much. Good morning, my good friend. How are you? I haven't seen you for a while.
I'm doing work for you.
You're looking well. Right. Good morning to you again, and good morning to the viewers out there. Listening to Mr. Maliba here, it's almost as if that the NDC were wishing that we plunge this country back into the dark days of doomsday. Now, if any Ghanaian and a customer of PDS right now expresses disquiet in terms of a service that was meant to be given to them vis-a-vis their power or electricity going off, they have every right to do so. And as an entity that is meant to be purveying a service, they have also a responsibility to inform the customers that there are going to be particular areas that will be affected by some outages, either if it's because of some ongoing work or not. So this is not a platform for me to come and sit here and say, when your light goes off, even for a day or a minute, for a business or a household or whatever, it's a good thing. But it's clear and categorical in terms of what the minister says, that some technical challenges have happened. There's also an issue to do with the ongoing project in Pokwasi, which had necessitated the need to move the pylons from one portion of the road to another portion of the road. And he made a clear statement that within 5 days, the issue will be resolved. We in this country would not forget easily the 4 years under the NDC that we actually experienced Dumso. And this is not where we are today. I'm quite surprised that there's a certain narrative that it's because of the inability of the independent power producers to buy crude and all that.
He questions, how come a pylon at Pokwasi
but that is what I'm saying, that I have
central region?
I have dealt with that. That Gridco had come out. I've seen communication from Gridco in the last 2 or 3 days, indicating clearly that they're facing some challenges and their technicians are dealing with the issues. The minister has actually gone round to these various sites to ascertain for himself and has come out to tell the whole country that within a period of 5 days, the issue will be resolved. So if in 5 days' time, or it actually surpasses that 5 days period, and you come back and sit here and have a conversation, that's fine. But even that, it's not an indication of doom. So of course, if he makes the allegation that by virtue of the fact that PDS are just taking over ECG, which happened just in the last couple of weeks or so, and within 2 weeks, they would be able to almost fix all the challenges that ECG were facing. It's extremely unfortunate, and it's even almost something that cannot be fathomed. The truth of the matter is that we've had challenges over the period. These are things that, of course, intermittently would happen. We haven't gotten to the stage where we are able to deal with some of these issues by having a excessive generation capacity, for instance, so that we'll be able to forestall some of these challenges when they come. Unfortunate as it is, but we are not in the era of Dumso. And anybody who actually experienced Dumso under the stewardship of the NDC will understand that that's not the situation that we are going through. Of course, people have had the need, and they have justified, to complain about the lack of electricity because they are paying for it, and they are meant to be served whatever it is that they are paying for. So that is the responsibility of PDS to deal, and the various stakeholders within the energy sector to deal with the matter. But it's not a matter of government's inability to pay or the independent power producers' inability to purchase crude. Because even if you look at our
so we have enough generation.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That, I mean, it is not to say that the minister had gone to hide in a corner somewhere and spoken to just a few Ghanaians and said that the issue will be resolved in 5 days. He's actually gone out and made it open to the entire nation that this is an issue that is essentially, as far as I'm concerned, is being resolved, and within the next 5 days, we would have a certain finality to the issue. So if it doesn't happen, then he can now go to the minister and ask him, how is it that within the last 5 days you promised that this was going to be resolved, it hasn't been resolved. But to sit here and almost become a doomsday prophet and actually wishing, it's as if that they are wishing the effects of Dumso on the people of Ghana. That's unfortunate.
Okay, okay. If you want to react, we're going to move on.
As an opposition,
because he said we should wait after 5 days and then we can,
we cannot wait after.
Yeah, but I mean,
Ghanaians cannot wait after 5 days because I did not wait after 5 days.
Okay, Eric, allow him. I'll come back to you if you want.
I did not wait after 5 days before buying my current. So you've been voted into power to ensure that you deal with the welfare needs of the people. You can't say people should suffer for 5 days. And you think that it is okay?
People were in this country for 4 years, and you.
I am saying that.
Pretending over.
I am saying that crisis. You are in government today. When you promise the people of this country, did you say that when you come to power, you let them suffer for 5 days and then you continue? Is that what you told them? So at each point of the governance process, you would have to question wrongdoings, you question issues that do not sit well with the welfare needs of the people. That does not mean you wish for Ghana to go back to doing so. Then what will be our use as an opposition? We should just fold our arms because the owners of Ghana are now in the seat. The rightful people who own Ghana are now in the seat. So when there's a problem, we should just keep our hands off and not talk. We will talk at each stage. And each stage, when we talk, it's not that we are wishing Ghanaians to go back. When I slept in darkness and I carried my 2 children into my car, is it not affecting me as well? So why would I be wishing that? So that's a wrong premise.
Okay.
You must be criticized when the need be. And you should have what should I say? The temperament to accommodate criticisms and not to say people are wishing bad for Ghana.
Right.
Have a temperament.
Right.
Eric, come and react and let's move on.
It's very clear that my good friend here did not listen to me. I acknowledge the fact that as a customer and as a citizen, if for one reason or the other I face challenges with my energy supply, I have absolutely every right, and every Ghanaian has every right to question or be despondent about the fact that they are not getting the service that they require.
Right.
I'm saying that dealing with the issue, it's clear that we are not back to the era of doom so. It's not possible. I mean, even if you listen to the NDC logic, where they tell Ghanaians that they actually fixed their doom so situation, how is it that within 2 years we actually get back to that stage?
Yeah, you can
in any case, listen, in any case, it's clear that the minister has made a commitment to the Ghanaian people that that will not happen. I believe strongly that the process of making sure that PDS is up and doing and switched on to make sure that we experience a service that is better than what we actually experienced under ECD is their mandate. And the commitment is there from government to make sure that they do so. And that minister, even when the handing over was being undertaken, made it clear to them that if they are not up to the task that has been given to them, the concession will be taken away from them. So it's as simple as that. I think that the verdict is still out there. It's early days yet. Let's give them an opportunity to deliver.
So don't say that we wish to go back to doom. Don't say that.
Eric, if PDS is taking over, or I mean, and this is one issue that every consumer is worried about, where power goes off at any time at all without any information. It started last week. As of this morning, power keeps going off, and there is no communication. Is that not worrying?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That, as far as I'm concerned, the responsibility behoves on PDS to alert the customers that they are having particular challenges. I have seen communication coming from the Gridco that they were facing particular challenges. So as far as I'm concerned, this company actually took over in the last 2 weeks. You understand? So maybe they're having some initial teething communication
because we criticize ECG
but
for not telling us. And so if they took over, then we expect that they will move away from that kind of behavior.
I back you 100%. There's absolutely no reason for me to sit here and justify that in terms of customer service or customer experience. But what I'm saying is that the issue at stake now is that are we back to the era, the dark days of doom so? And I'm saying that that is not the case.
Right.
And government is committed to the fact that we will not get there. And if you want to talk about the things that government has done in the last 2 years to forestall that challenge, it's there for everybody to see. As far as I'm concerned, when these things do happen, we need to even think outside of the box. There are also other avenues that we can actually use in terms of what are we doing with renewable energy, for instance? What are we doing with other sources of energy? We've been talking about solar and all of those things for a very long time. It's not an argument. So we can have this conversation rather than the same NDC doomsday prophecy that we are coming
between
back into the dark days of.
There's no difference. Actually, because when you create the impression a new company has taken over, 90% of those who were in ECG are still in PDS. You should know that. So there's actually no difference. Work culture, no difference. It's the same people, the same issues. Indeed, PDS, if they were very minded to deal with the problems that ECG had should have studied the concerns of consumers when they were taken over and said that these things that you are asking, that the same things are repeating themselves, wouldn't have happened. But they've not learned.
But they've not
there
learned.
for only I'm saying that communication coming from ECG was a problem. How can communication coming from PDS again be a problem? Haven't they studied the situation? Didn't they know what they were going into?
Let's move on to the
myself.
presidency. The president has instructed the AG to prepare and submit to Parliament a specific legislation to deal with political violence. The legislation, which is expected to be prepared as soon as possible, will also provide sanctions against any one or group of persons who engage in such violence in the name of vigilantism. The president's decision was contained in a letter to the chair of the NDC on the need for the NPP and the NDC to meet to address the phenomenon. President Akufo-Addo, in the letter, said his decision was without prejudice to the outcome of that meeting between the two parties, the NDC and the NPP. Now, he says, I believe that the parliamentary process of enactment affords sufficient space for citizens to make an input or contribution to the enactment of a good and effective law whose implementation will enable us to rid our nation of politically related violence. That's yesterday when the Justice Short Commission presented the report. Eric, let's start from here. I have heard a legal practitioner make a suggestion to the president that this directive is not necessary and that it is a futile attempt. It will not lead to what the president wants to do, and that the president should rather use an executive instrument to deal with this. What do you think?
Well, that's the beauty of democracy. That people are allowed to make their opinions heard. We live in an era where divergent opinions are welcome. I think that there's a conviction in what the president wants to do, making sure that these are things that once it actually goes through a proper legal process, then it's something that would come to stay. I mean, if you institute an executive instrument, what it will mean is that another president might be able to come in and issue a counter one or do something totally different. So for me, I think that I would back the president's position. The issue to do with this vigilantism is something that everybody across the divide of all our political parties and even CSOs and religious bodies have had issues to do with. I've even heard people saying that we have the requisite legal instruments to be able to deal with the situation. But the truth of the matter is that it's almost akin to doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And it's getting to the point where it's about time that we showed exactly the same kind of conviction that the president has shown in making sure that we deal with the issue. And if you listen to the statement, the statement basically says that is without prejudice to what will transpire between the NPP and the NDC in terms of trying to find a way of resolving this issue and disbanding these vigilante groups. So for me, it's also open to a national conversation surrounding what is the best way to deal with these things. Apart from even the instruments, it's also imperative that the two political parties show enough commitment. I have seen correspondence from the NDC regarding a certain set of preconditions that need to be met before they will sit around the table and discuss this. I disagree. I feel that the two parties can meet and have a certain terms of reference, and if there's a need for other people to be actually invited to join and either superintend or act as mediators, so be it. Excuse me. So for me, I think we've gotten to this point because this is something that, as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of well-meaning Ghanaians, it's not something that would inure positively to our democracy and even as a nation. And it's imperative that we find a solution to this thing once and for all and deal with the menace that has essentially been part of our political landscape in the last 25 years or so. As far as I'm concerned, the president has shown conviction.
Right.
It behoves on us as stakeholders, political parties, and the various other entities that are interested in our political processes to also show the same commitment so that we can deal with the issue.
Mr. Malba, so that meeting failed to take place. The president said, let's now go into legislation.
It failed to take place because the president is not committed to fighting the canker. Let me give an example. When the president decided that he was going to take the fight to the galamseyers, he did not pass a new law. He used the existing laws. There are existing laws. I have counted about 10 sections in the Criminal Offences Act that can deal with this matter. I have counted like 10. I can give you some off on top of my head. You can go to section 200, section 200 and 200 is one, 200A is another one, 198 is another one, and around the one something. 10 of them, Mr. President, you are a lawyer, senior one at that. 10 of them that can fight this country. He is not committed. Look, you remember that it was under his leadership of the MPP that some Serbians were brought into this country. South African mercenaries were brought into the country to train these vigilante groups that they have. In fact, the formation of the Kandahar boys and all those people, Invisible Forces, Delta Forces, were done under his leadership of the MPP. So he's the godfather of all these groups. And so when he decides that all of you disband, they will disband. He's not committed. When the NDC he's saying preconditions. What's the precondition? That expand the discussions, have a multi-stakeholder discussions, because these vigilantes are not just only political vigilantes. We have land guards who are also vigilantes. We need to deal with the issue once and for all. What will the president lose if the Christian Council comes on board, the Peace Council comes on board? What would he lose? The two political parties, there's a lot of mistrust, deep-seated mistrust between the two political parties. Now, just take a look at what happened in the Cash for Seat Parliament, they call it bipartisan committee. Look at how the committee came out divided in the middle. So you say NDC, MPP, go, you alone, go and sit down. After the first meeting, John Bodi comes and says this. In that same meeting, General Mosquito comes and says another thing. So we need a mediator. And these mediators that we propose are not people from outside Ghana. Peace Council, the law that created the Peace Council, created it to deal with matters such as this. Peace Council. It is sad that the president described the Peace Council in his first letter as outsiders. A body that has been established by law, and the name itself, Peace Council. The president says, in this matter of vigilantism, where the peace is breached, Peace Council is an outsider. I don't know who advises the president. His executive secretary is a lawyer. He himself is a lawyer. Some of these statements he makes are a clear indication of abdication of responsibility.
Should the NDC have gone to sit down with the NPP first? That's a proposition by some.
Look, the NDC is not against sitting with the MPP. But we are saying that there should be somebody who will mediate. You claim that
you need not have gone to the meeting first before perhaps putting this across?
To what use?
Some have suggested that.
To what use when you know that?
That is what the party should have done.
No, these are two political parties who have been in existence since the Fourth Republic. We know how we feel about each other. If you invite me to your house for a discussion, I know that it will not yield any dividend. Why should I waste my time driving all the way to your house? This is not the first time that NDC and people are sitting. We've sat at IPAC, we know how we feel about each other. We've sat at, even where there are mediators, we know how we feel about each other, in the case of IPAC. So we are saying, but I know the problem. In the MPP, the president is virtually a demigod. When he speaks, that ends it. They do not understand why NDC should be coming with a proposal that seeks to be amending what their godfather has said. But this is about the nation. It's not about the MPP. In the MPP, yes, when you speak, nobody speaks. But in the larger Ghanaian society, there are various stakeholders. So when you speak, you should expect that somebody will come and propose something. What we have done is not to disagree with him, but to enhance what we have done. If people are watching, I'm telling them, we are only enhancing what the president has proposed. It is not our creation. This sitting down and talking, the credit still goes to the president. If that's his problem, Mr. President, take the credit. But we are also proposing something to enhance your proposal. That is all. And this is a situation where you say no and ask the question, what would you lose? Now, this legislation, and I've already dealt with it, that we have about 10 sections of the Criminal Offences Act, apart from the Constitution, that deals with this matter. This legislation, how will it deal with somebody like Double, who's already in the security services? And his main objective from phone selling at the Kwame Nkrumah circle, from selling phones from Kwame Nkrumah circle, and receiving 3 weeks of training, and being handed a gun. That's a walking, dangerous personality. If you give somebody 3 weeks and you give him a gun to wield, that's a keg of gunpowder walking. He all himself is a keg of gunpowder walking.
Right.
Now,
You know, if Allah is
so
that is his view. So I'll get you the chance already.
You have asked people to go in there. Your people are already there. How do you deal with it? Would the law deal with those people by bringing them out of the security services? So I think that
You think that we cannot draft a law to do that?
it's the president who must tell us that how this law will deal with such people. Indeed, he's just given a vague instruction. AG, pass a law. But he's not told us the timelines. So if tomorrow there's another vigilante group, as they are mushrooming, the latest is the eye.
Well, they say the eye is
And they don't say that. What have they accepted? Look, now, if you pass such a law, not if you pass such a law, if you give such an instruction and you do not give timelines, we've seen bills in Parliament which have taken 20 years. Will this serious matter? Will this serious matter? If we complain, you tell us that, and that's the abdication. You tell us that, but I've asked that there should be a law passed. And you notice that part of his defense from his communicators is that, but the president has said that the IGP should take action. They will always want to shield the president from all this. And the president is playing into those things. So, I've asked. But if the president decides to show commitment, as he showed in the fight against Galamsey, you don't need any new law. Mr. President, you can disband them. You are the commander-in-chief. You are the chairman of the National Security Council. You have all these state apparatus behind you. If you make a decision that you want to disband them, you will.
Okay, Eric, I'll come to you, but let's go to Johnny first. We'll come back in a minute.
Sure, and thank you, Bryce. Tilapia has been on the beat. Says return of Doomso. That's a question. He's asking, I miss home. That's Doomso carrying a lantern and walking back into Ghana. The generation plants behind him, and he's coming there. He's wearing a mask, by the way, and a helmet and gloves, if you want to know more. Okay, on WhatsApp this morning, we have lots and lots and lots of your messages coming up on our portal, and you can always join us. Later on in the show, we're asking the question, is stinginess a killer? It says yes or no for relationships. We want to know. But it says, good morning, Johnny, Bright and Number. What happened at UEW is unfortunate. Of late, the University of Education, Wedeba, has been bedeviled with a number of conflicting situations, including who should occupy what position. Government and university councils should come together to resolve those teething problems affecting UEW. Yaya Fuseni, Kasule, those are not teething problems anymore. They've gone beyond teething. So the president has managed to clothe the invisible forces and the Delta forces with state power to use violence to keep him in power. Now he wants a legislation to make the NDC and other parties helpless. He is a joke. That's what you say, Joseph in Bolga. How do you know this, Joseph? AU Farouk in Tamale. Good morning. The president must stop issuing threats and warnings to the various parties, and he must walk his talk. We know his hidden agenda towards the disbandment of vigilantism. Good morning, Bright. Tell the president to walk his talk. When the dollar was 3.72%, then in opposition, he told Ghanaians to change to the then president. But today, the dollar is 5.57. Bright, what should Ghanaians do now? Obeng Nash Brakwa. I'm sure that's a rhetorical question. Hi, TV3. GES of the Northern Region is taxing each teacher in some districts 50 Ghana cedis for just 2 hours of workshop. My question, where will those monies go? Osman in Bole. NPP in opposition created the impression that they were the most intelligent, most knowledgeable, most competent, had the solution for every problem. It is now clear they were making empty noise just to win power. What is more worrying is they feel too proud to consult. Asanko in Santa Maria. When it comes to tackling of Ghanaian problems, the NPP is more realistic than the NDC, who only wants Ghanaians to sympathize with them cheaply. This will not happen, as we have confidence in the NPP. Haj Ahmed in Nima. And when you get hard-eared listening or leaders and agitated stab on you, this is what the results are. Homie in Bakwai. Incompetence in the driving seat. God save Ghana. Ismail Ahoroya in Nima. Good morning, family. I trust all is well. Please ask the GASPR when they're going to release the double-track teacher staff IDs and pay them in 5 months. It's 5 months now that they haven't received Capria. Ghana, Mother Ghana, Rich in Kumasi. A guy will always be stingy. Okay, we'll come back to the stingy messages. But the NPP government has really lost focus. They should start packing their things because they are not fit for running this country. The president and his appointees are total disgrace and failures. 2020 NDC is coming back. Akufo-Addo has failed Kra, and Ghana is now Basa. Osman Birkisang in Tamale. I was thinking Ghana would be a better place under this current administration, but the reverse is the case. Higher levels of insecurity everywhere. Asidi dancing Azonto, increment in petroleum prices, non-payment of double-track teachers, and many more. In fact, this government is a failure and must stop pretending everything is good. If you deceive Ghanaians with lectures, the exchange rate will expose you. Kwesi Safo in Mim. DJ O'Malley and Wayose in Goso says the minority NDC should stop their egoisms and proud attitudes and sit with the MPP on a round table and find a perfect solution to dialogue, dissolve and dismantle the vigilantism in the country. Akufo-Addo and his MPP are more than ready to let go their vigilante group. But what is preventing the NDC people to do the same? Abronya DC, incoming Bono chairman, that's what you say. Alasan Wawana says, I'm entreating the minority NDC to kindly stop their propaganda, hypocrisy, and remove the obstacles in their eyes to see the wonderful work of a visionary, hardworking president. It is more of once bitten, twice shy. Once you give all you... Okay, so I'm sure this is also talking about the stinginess. Hey, so yesterday, it occurred again. Cold store operators are crying. Barbers are weeping. But the 17 air-conditioned man still has light in his house. And that man, Mr. Economist, is unable to arrest the dollar, making the cedi almost the weakest currency in the world. Well, yesterday, Bloomberg said we're getting you some grounds there. Ampao, lecturing and talking plenty is different from practicing. That is why an electrical lecture is unable to fix the bulb. Hey, Enumjapani. Okay. Charles Nyame in Asamankese. Whereas NDC came to build universities, MPP is in and closing them. And take it or leave it. This Akufo-Addo's MPP government has become a national disaster after Ghanaians made the biggest mistake by voting out the generational thinker, John Mahama, in 2016. Never again. Never again. Oliver Kevo. Anytime the lights goes off, I always stretch my hand to the corner of my bed, touch my voter ID card, and I smile. Indama Hillman from Yagaba. And finally, good morning. I'm Ebenezer from Kwabenya Welder Junction. What's happening at all, Mr. President? Your so-called men and women are sleeping on the job. Nothing is going on, and I think it's high time to crack the whip. Once again, Mr. President, call this Honorable Kennedy Ejapon to order because he's bringing shame to your government. It is not doing the honorable thing. He's not doing the honorable thing and make some of us the disrespect an honorable House of Parliament. Honorable Speaker, put partisan aside and crack the whip.
NDC, let me tell you something. If you listen to your national chairman in the now infamous tape, making assertions to the fact that they were actually on the verge of recruiting new vigilante groups and setting up committees to protect ballot boxes and all of those things. And the fact that they know for a fact that the president had made the call that those two parties, the MPP and the NDC, should meet within a week. And they decided after 4 or 5 days, they would send a letter actually coming out with conditions, suggested that they were not committed to the thing to start with. Apart from that, how can you sit here and say that a man who actually superintended over the repealing of the criminal libel law is not a Democrat, and that when he speaks, nobody is allowed to speak? This is basically, it doesn't sit. The sort of analysis that he's making is erroneous. It's not true. That is not the case at all. Again, this is a man that when in 2012, after the election petition and the verdict actually went the other way, even though that was not the expectation, stood before the whole country and said that, listen, it is not for political expediency and for his sake that this country will burn. That's the man that we are talking about. But you see, apart from all of these things, I believe strongly that the NDC are not committed to fighting this canker just because of the fact that they actually started this. You see, when you go back into our political history and the days of when they had their CDRs and ACDRs and all of that, what happened to all of those people? They actually put them into the security agencies. But apart from that, we were the first vigilante group that we knew in this country was called Azoka Boys. And if you listen to the tape of Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo and the fact that even the incidents that happened in Ayawaso West Wogon, the Azoka Boys were present in that space. Do you know the distance between Ayawaso West Wogon and where most of these Azoka Boys come from? But what were they doing there? And it's clear evidence that they were really not interested in even contesting that particular election. They came there to cause chaos and really mayhem, and they were found out to start with. Not justifying the things that happened on that particular day. The history of violence during by-elections did not start from Ayawaso West Wogon.
I don't have a lot of time.
Yeah,
I want us to stick to the issue that, look, the president directed the NPP meet the NDC and discuss this. Would you say that perhaps the NPP failed the president?
No, but the thing is that it takes two to tango.
But the president directed the NPP.
Yes, but
I mean, the president was clear. He said he's asked his party to get to the NDC.
It takes two
Some
to
20
tango.
days after this has failed,
Without,
which means that the two parties have failed the president.
But the president has carried on with the statement that he made in Parliament during the State of the Nation address, that within a week, if these two parties do not show any commitment to resolving the issue, he would ask for legislation on the matter.
So the two parties have failed.
He has gone.
So the two parties have failed.
But even went on to say that, still gave the room for that particular interaction to happen, and said that this is without prejudice to the conversation that would have between the two parties. So as far as I'm concerned, the commitment is there. I believe strongly that this is something that both parties should actually take seriously so that we can deal with the canker. I have always had a challenge with that because you can find other groups actually springing up and claiming to be aligned to these two political parties, and it would probably not be the case. So it's within our interest, our own interest, to make sure that this particular issue is dealt with, groups are disbanded, and the era of violence during elections and by-elections should be over.
Okay, Mr. Robert,
of course, I mean, even if just to round up, yesterday the Emil Short Commission committee actually presented the report to the president, and I believe strongly that, again, like the president indicated, he will be committed to making sure that we are able to execute the recommendations that is in there. So I'm sure that by the time that report actually
in about 6 months, when government issues that white paper
is executed, and what would happen with the conversation between the MPP and the NDC, plus the instruction that has been given to the Attorney General to start the processes of putting a legal process.
You see, the MPP itself violated the president's instructions or orders. The president said they should invite the NDC. Then you have organizations such as NDC and PP. You would have expected a written letter to the NDC that let's come and meet. You have Chairman Blay rather calling our chairman on phone as if they were going to drink Pito.
Oh, come on.
You see?
But, I mean, so
It couldn't have been the beginning
So
of
it's
that.
not- it's not a means of communication.
You should formally write to us. It should be on record. But I heard them say, their chairman call our chairman. And I asked the question, is that how serious you are dealing with the matter? There must be something on record. But you see, in all these debates as to whether we should expand the discussions to include other organizations or not, it's only the president and his party who are standing alone. 12 civil society organizations are with the NDC and think that that's the right way to go. And yet you have a president who claims he wants to deal with the matter, refusing to listen to the call of the people, including the churches, who think that the right way to go is to expand the discussion. I am saying that, watch it. If the president wakes up one morning and decides that he is committed to deal with this matter, he will take the fight to the vigilante groups, just as how he took the fight to the Galamseyers.
I'm grateful.
He's not interested now.
Abraham Maliba is a member of the NDC's team, and Eric Chum is a member of the NPP's team. Gentlemen, grateful for a Friday morning.
Thank you.